Hi, my name is Coach Tim Killeen here at Chester Springs CrossFit, and I'm here to talk to you about Monday, August the 5th, week 4 of a cycle that we are currently in that is focusing on clusters so that we don't feel as bad when we have to do a lot of thrusters. Because thrusters are one of the I don't know, I was going to say benchmark movements, really hallmark movements of CrossFit. It's one of those movements people love to hate to love, etc., because they are such a full body dynamic movement. And of course, you know, even though we're working towards heavy clusters, sort of to make the lighter barbell and lighter thrusters feel easier, we're still getting power gains out of those things too. And so we have more of those clusters to do today, and of course that is supposed to and will lend itself to more thrusters in the context of a CrossFit WOD, which we have to do today. All right, so let's talk first about the clusters. Borrowing from what we did on Friday with the snatches, today we are going to do single clusters, working up to a heavy single in the format of EMOM. Every minute on the minute, all you need to do is one cluster, which means we'll give you time to warm up. But once it's go time, you should be feeling pretty confident about the plan that you have set forth. And then also, something that I did say on Friday, even though it was a complex, I'll say the same thing again today where it's not a complex. Well, I guess a cluster is a complex in and of itself, is it not? But what I'm gonna say is you can ramp, but you don't have to ramp. And probably more likely, you can ramp a little bit. Like, there's no expectation that you ramp on every single rep, because I think that'd be a little ridiculous, don't you think? It'd be too much plate changing when you don't have that much time to begin with. I'd rather I'll say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but I am serious. I would rather you be spending that rest of your time where you should be resting, thinking about the next rep, or visualizing and attacking and all of that good stuff. So I do sincerely mean that. And while you are working up to a heavy single today, or working at a static single, there is no expectation and really no pressure, and really, I might even say, like, don't try to PR today. Like, if you PR today, great, but please don't go to failure and attempt to PR, because this is not the point of doing EMOMs in week 4 of a cycle. EMOMs are very valuable to people who just do weightlifting and weightlifting only, but I would argue that they are even more valuable to us because they take away that time to think. They take away that time to manipulate the clock. They are closer, right, in the, having to get right back on the thing. They are closer in nature to a WOD. EMOMs technically, I get used as WODs, as a WOD format all the time. And so for that reason, a day like today is more about working on technique, feeling confident in your technique, and being able to hit it again and again and again, and knowing that you're going to hit it. It's not about working up to a heavy single. I say that right now. I know I'm going to coach 2 classes, and several of you are going to try to PR anyway. So please, try not to be that guy. We're going to give you time to PR at the end of the cycle. You will, in fact, have 2 weeks to give it a shot. You don't need to be doing it in week 4. All right, next week we will work at doubles at 90%, and that's really going to help when we get to those singles weeks. What else do we have for our WOD today? Today we just have 2 separate couplets, separated by 3 minutes of rest. You will use that 3 minute of rest to not only recover, but also change plates, because it's going to go from a heavier movement down to a slightly lighter movement. The couplet is this: 2 rounds of 15 front rack lunges, 15 lateral bar over burpees. That's 2 rounds of that. Rest 3 minutes. Go to a lighter weight on the thruster. 2 rounds of 15 thrusters, 15 lateral bar over burpees. Should be very, very intense. In fact, the bulk of the reasoning for that 3 minutes of rest is so that you can maintain the stimulus, maintain your intensity, full recovery between couplets. What is the loading of the barbell? Well, I said it's a heavier barbell for the front rack loading and then a lighter barbell for the thruster loading, knowing full well and cautioning to say that that is only true if you don't have any, mobility issues. Plenty of people can do super heavy thrusters, but really struggle with the mobility of a lunge. And if you are one of those people, then what I'm saying doesn't apply, right? You might even have a heavier thruster. I could even see some people needing to lunge with like a PVC or an empty barbell or something like that. As long as we are working towards really good technique and fighting through any imbalances or mobility issues, I'm happy with that. For everyone else, who don't struggle with mobility on either of these movements, we're gonna say no heavier than 135-95 on the lunges, and then no heavier than Fran weights, which is 95-65 on the thrusters. But let's thread a needle here. Both of those movements, you should be picking a loading where you're pretty sure you can do that unbroken. Maybe not in round 2, but you know for sure you could unbroken that movement. The thrusters are a great example of this. We're trying to work on building towards Fran, right? And so one of the rounds of Fran is 15. I want to get to a point where I feel like, maybe this set of 21 is not unbroken, but the 15 and 9 sure are. That'd be great. So if you could work on that today, that'd be fantastic. And then the burpees are what they are, right? I just did this, and I felt like, yes, this is the fastest kind of burpee that there is, lateral barbell burpees, because you don't have to stand them all the way up. At the same time, I wanted to make sure that my barbell movements were always unbroken, and I felt like that's only going to happen if I take a little bit off of the burpees. That doesn't mean rest. It doesn't mean use it as nap time. It just meant I wasn't flying through it. And I felt like, just knowing myself, that's the best possible strategy, so that I know when it's time to pick up the barbell, I won't have to put it down. And I did it, because look at this. That looks like front rack lunges to me. The other thing about the front rack lunges, if you're using a pretty challenging weight, is the unforeseen thing is that it's taxing to the front rack, right? I know it's called a front rack lunge, but what I mean is it's taxing to the lats the longer you have to hold on to the bar. What I liked though is that it's over pretty quickly. The first 2 rounds took me 4 minutes and 2 seconds, something like that. So you're not in that position for very long. But you want to get used to being in that elbow high front rack position, because that should be where you can rest. You're not going to rest in a lunge, right? You're not going to rest with one leg down. And we want you to try to go unbroken on these, so you're not going to put the bar down either. So if there is a need for rest or breathing or stopping for a second and contemplating or resetting yourself, it's going to be in the stood up position. All right, good luck with that. Took me 11:50. We're going to cap it at 20. Really don't think we need it today. Enjoy.